I mean, thank you, Alexander, for joining us and for finding some time in what I suppose is a very, very busy schedule. We are going to spend an hour, maybe a bit more than an hour together, talking about music industry events and more specifically about Reeperbahn. 20 years or so ago, there was only one major music industry event, and that was MEDEM. And when I say 20, it was maybe 30 years ago. So those past years, we have seen music industry event being held in every single country in the world, to the extent that one could spend a whole year traveling from one music industry event to another without any disruption. Such events do now play a key role in the development of artists' careers, but also in the development of labels, publishing companies, and the live music industry sector. So I'm very happy to welcome you, Alexander. You're the founder and CEO of Reeperbahn, which is the most important music industry event in Europe, not to say in the world, alongside maybe South by Southwest. And I would like to thank you for accepting our invitation. But before we go into an in-depth conversation about music industry events, could you please just introduce yourself to us and talk about the idea behind the inception and the launch of Reeperbahn?
Yes, thank you, Didier. And good to meet you again here, and for having me. While I was still studying culture science, could be the translation, that was back in the late 80s, beginning of 90s, I founded a small label and music publishing company, which I ran by myself and only one other person. That was the first half of the 90s. And I did attend for many times another old industry event called the Popcom in Cologne.
In Cologne.
During these days. And of course, the MEDEM only a few times. But I only represented it to my small publishing company and my label, German acts, so no international business at that point. And I attended South by in the year 2000 for the first time, and I was deeply impressed by the high quality of the quality of the level of the music. I mean, at that time it was mainly a music festival, and it was mainly happening on 6th Street, and I was not only attached by the high quality even of new talents, but also by the high quality through the different genres. No matter if it was country music or hip hop at that time, the first hip hop bands were there these days. It was all of a certain level, and and of course the structure and the opportunity to, if you offer new talent, having the chance to go door by door, something which our children are used to in the virtual world right now, listening only to singles through algorithm, but doing this in real was something I was really impressed on. And that was the, in a way, that was the inspiration for doing Reeperbahn and starting in 2006. It took me like 6 years from the idea trying something different, trying something similar in a different way somewhere in Europe.
Apart from so basically you have now almost 20 years experience in music industry events, being an observer or being hands down organizing it. So apart from the growth of the events, what have been the most noticeable changes, the evolution of music industry events, but maybe more specifically of Reeperbahn during those past years, during all those 14 years?
Yeah, it was definitely the so-called digital revolution. I mean, it was the when we started Reeperbahn in the beginning, mid of 2000, recorded music went down, and everybody might remember, and everybody had to live on live music, and it grew at the same time very fast. So, and the old role models, except South by, as far as I remember, almost all of them, Eurosonic maybe even not, but they were based on recorded music and publishing industry, the big music business events, because that has been the leading part of the overall music industry for decades, the recorded industry, and catalog deals and publishers. And you did these deals only with music professional audience in big exhibition halls at booths. And that was no more contemporary as the music industry, I mean, the whole music ecosystem changed in the beginning of the 2000s. So, I mean, we came from the other side and thought it could be, like South by already did, it could be a good idea to present the product music to business people as well as public audience in clubs, in the live situation, no more longer behind booths and only to the professional audience. So that was, yeah, and I mean, expecting that this part of the music ecosystem would in a few years, I mean back in 2000, would in a few years be the part that is the main part for all artists, for the industry and the audience as well, was maybe the right thought at that time. And yeah, things happened as they happened in the following years. Recorded went down and further down until the first streaming service, not even then, but that was the first, as far as I remember, 2010, 2011, something like that, when the first streaming services got it legal, no economic basis, but legally streaming. That was the first time since a few years that recording music could be in a kind of good hope of getting back in the market at all. And at the same time, ticket prices, I mean, the older ones of us might remember, first they doubled, then they cost like 4 times, 10 times, because of course, the whole ecosystem had to live on these live events. So yeah.
Well, you know, I remember in the late 70s, a ticket to a concert was the same price than a vinyl album at the time.
Yeah, and you know, and what was the self-understanding of the whole industry was, I mean, the concerts were supporting the release of a record, and that was sometimes there was not even a promotion budget for the concerts. It was the record company who released the album and also held the promotion budget for the whole tour.
It was called tour support.
Vice versa.
It was called tour support, and I remember us printing posters for the tours and making sure that the album covers was always on the poster. I mean, because that's the way it was. And basically, you would back in the days, you would position the touring and the concerts with it was a part of your marketing plan, of your recorded music marketing plan. That's what it was, you know. But nowadays, the center of gravity of the music industry is gone back to the live music. I mean, it did until March 2020. So, but we are not going to talk about March 2020 right now. But obviously you're right. I mean, it was a total revolution to see that the live music is now the center of gravity of the music industry. Then again, that's the way it was in the 40s and in the 50s before recorded music. So it's basically it's a kind of a circle, and it's coming back to live music. Now that we have spoken a little bit about the past and the evolution over the past years, can you tell me a bit more about the expansion of Reeperbahn? As, if I'm not mistaken, I know for sure that you are now having a Reeperbahn in the US. if I'm not mistaken, you have a presence now in Africa and maybe even in China. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, I can explain a little bit. Having a presence seems like that's a real big event. It's events in these destinations. It's not, but we started cooperating with the program outside Europe in the US, in New York, 5 years ago. And that was the initial outside destination, and now it's up to 5 every year. That's quite right. It's 2 more in the US, and it's 1 in Africa and 1 in China. But what does it mean? It means we, well, New York grew a little bit. Yeah, that's right. It's in cooperation with the American Association of Independent Music. It's going to take part parallel and in cooperation and mixing up program items between A2AM and Reeperbahn. So we are in a way bringing in the European delegation. Yes, there are some also delegates from Europe coming in through Impala and 1 or 2 other organizations, but yeah, small and middle-sized music business companies which are interested in the American recorded and distribution market, indie market. It's our aim group here, and we were growing up to, I guess, 70 or 80 music business people from Europe and Germany who followed us in 2019, which was the last presence year in New York. And most of them come with Reeperbahn and yeah, are keen on our offer and networking with the US industry, but a few of them also present their artists.
So hold on a minute. Are you saying that basically when you organize those trips and if you have 70 people attending whatever show you produce, be it in Africa or in the US or in China, the 70 people are traveling together?
No, it's individual traveling. I mean,
Okay.
what we offer is program right there, and the cooperation with the partner and the markets. It's always the markets. So it costs you a lot. I mean, we are supported to the Federal Foreign Office of Germany, but they spend more. They spend travel support, a little travel support on China and Africa, not in the established market in the US, where we divide the 3 destinations: Nashville, which is more publishing market, and as I said before, New York is recorded music, and LA is more sync and live. So we divided a little bit, but yeah, and they're gonna travel there. The delegates travel there individually, and yeah, we offer the program plus we offer promotion and a little bit of communication, especially if you bring in your artists as well. So we deal like in LA, studio visit of the artists and interviews at KCRW, or little radio or online promotion and other effects if you come with an artist, which plays our showcase as well in the very destination. But you won't bring in an artist only for 1 showcase. That makes no sense. So you get, besides into contact with the industry, also with the public media. This is something we offer.
If I look at the evolution, I mean, I'm a pure product of major record companies. Yeah. Okay? That's where I spent all my life. And basically, if I look at the evolution, 20 or 30 years ago, we had 20 major record companies. Today, we have 3. If I look at the current evolution of the live music industry, I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of years, you have only 2 or 3 major players. And we know the names, we have the names, and we will discuss about the names a bit later, the Live Nations, AEG and FKP of this world. Would you see the same happening with music industry events? In other words, is the Reeperbahn growth, will it be always organic, or could you, I'm not asking for any scoop or any secret strategy here, but could you consider buying some events in some territories, I don't know, in South America or in Europe, in smaller countries, in Switzerland, in Belgium, in Austria, and have a growth strategy which would be based on merger and acquisitions?
No. We come a little bit from a different position than we are very much based on the public funding on the one hand, and when I mentioned these, for example, these foreign events, it's I mean, if you're not funded, you could not afford it, I would say. I could not imagine. I mean, what I could imagine, maybe it's not a clear no, but I can only imagine it. When we do it in a cooperation way with a local partner in these territories, because I mean, it's, you know, what we offer here for the music professionals is so much about, especially for smaller and mid-sized companies, which don't have a holding, a global holding. I mean, they have different possibilities. I mean, we need these people being very specialized in their local markets. Otherwise, it makes no sense. It's not attractive for European and German small, middle-sized company holders taking our offers and our program in these very territories. So I could imagine that we maybe enlarge our engagement, but it has to happen in cooperation. We cannot own these events. I mean, partly it's like if you're talking about the annual meeting of the American Association of Independent Music, I mean, it's a non-profit organization. So, and we have to still cooperate with them on these bases. Also with the music biz in Nashville. I mean, it's not the indies, it's the majors, but it's only a cooperation. So, and it's a big event, and we are just part of it, offering a special part of program. So, no, it's different than these models you were talking about of Live Nation or AEG.
If I look at the offer again in terms of music industry events, it is so big. I mean, again, I could go from one to another all year round, you know, and spend my days going from one music industry event to another. So basically, I have to choose. I have to choose where I go. Should I come to Reeperbahn only if Germany is a key territory, or should I have other reasons? That's a first part of the question. And as you mentioned, Eurosonic, would you consider, for example, that I should go to Eurosonic if I want to contact live music agent, that Eurosonic is very specialized in live music events because this is where they go, it's in January, they do their shopping for the year, blah, blah, blah. And I should go to Reeperbahn for another reason because it's in September. So it would be more maybe like recorded music or publishing or conference-based or
well, I would say Eurosonic is the strongest event in Europe if it comes up to European, especially British, if you want to deal with British or European agents. So it's the strongest event for live promoters, European live promoters.
Yes.
They are
European acts, right?
Yeah, they are funded through the Commission, very strong, and everything is about European music business and European music. But they are very well connected historically since decades, and very great job with the UK agents, especially very good connected to Greg Palmy, IMF in London and things like that. So this is the strongest. If you're seeking for these parts of the market, it's the strongest event. Yeah, and our event is. Yes, it's going to happen in, well, first of all, yeah, where do all these music business people come from? I mean, territory-wise, yes, we are happening in Germany, but it's we're aiming to be an international event, and especially offering music business people from abroad to those who are from Europe. So they can get in contact and dealing with them in all markets, publishing, recorded music and live entertainment, and not traveling to Canada or Australia, or we're not that strong at South America yet. We're growing with Asia. South Korea is going to be the partner country this year and things like that. Australia has been the partner country 2 years ago. Canada has been, so very much aiming, bringing in transcontinental markets into Europe for those small and mid-sized companies who have not the chance to travel every day to a showcase event somewhere in the world, and focus power on some events. And we are, maybe let me add this, Didier, we are, and coming more from the global or continental private driven idea, we are also more connected with international brand partners, music brand partners. I mean, there is a lot of, in comparison to Eurosonic, for example, at that point, we are more, a little bit more like the medium. We're very well connected to YouTube and Spotify's and Believe Digital and all these companies, which are very much in the recorded sector, which are very much in the, they are in the new recorded and distribution sector, and they're acting globally. And these are the partners between public audience and professionals. They're aiming at both, which you will find very much in our event. Of course, you will find showcases through the record companies like Universal and Warner's and all these companies, yes. A little bit more old school, but something which differs also very much from Eurosonic, where you will not find these showcases from
major record companies,
labels, or major companies and present. I guess it's a different history and structure behind Eurosonic.
You have mentioned a few times small to mid-sized companies, which is interesting for me, and I guess for those attending our conversation tonight. I mean, I'm a one-man band, okay, so I'm doing management, production, publishing, live. I'm setting up an agency as well. Basically, I'm outsourcing lots of my activities, right? I'm focusing on my relationship with the artist on one hand, and with music fans on the other. And I outsource everything. I mean, my strategy consists in putting tailor-made teams around every given project. So it makes it unique. What advice would you have for me to maximize my chances of success coming to Hamburg? Should I prepare something way ahead? How long ahead should I start working on it? Or should I consider it as 3 wonderful days or 4 wonderful days in Hamburg and book my registration 24 hours before and just, happy-go-lucky, go from one bar to another?
What I made the experience that I do not react anymore, even if I attend other events, and people can find me in the database, like in our event as well, and then they connect me and say, here's the check out the my music, either with a link and or I'm going to showcase tomorrow night, drop by. Actually, I don't do this anymore. I mean, maybe the bookers in our team, if we're attending other events, but you've been asking me about our event and your role there. Well, I would, there is situations, I'm not quite sure actually, and then therefore it's not the best answer I can give, but we do offer a lot of curated networkings. And you have to, I mean, I would say try to get in there. I know, it's the same thing we're doing in New York, for example. Why do people sharing all these costs, running very small companies, traveling to New York? Because they know when they will be there, they know exactly which companies in the US they would meet. and which catalog or roster they would offer. That's the New York case. And we offer a little bit of these kind of programs in our own event in Hamburg. And this is something I would recommend very much. There's a lot of organizations, companies or export offices or whatever, they ask us for curating showcases because their companies, say from Canada or whatever, and it's, for example, only the publishers or only managers from Canada seeking for business contacts for, let's say, France and Italy. So nowadays it's very narrow. I mean, 10 years ago, it was like publishers plus live. That makes no sense. It's very narrow, very special. And you should try to get in these, be the other side for these organizations. My colleagues organize a lot of these showcases and of these networking, sorry. And I would say that makes much more sense because I mean, you would also say, well, I wouldn't go there because this makes no sense for me. These days I'm looking for the album XY for distribution. I'm not looking for a promoter in Asia these days. I'm looking for a record company in Scandinavia. And then you should be part of the Scandinavian publishers, for example, networking, matchmaking, and then you know in advance whom exactly you're going to meet. Maybe people that won't even react if you contact them through the database. But here, normally it's like only 5 minutes talk, and then you change tables. And I'm sure we're going to talk about it later. I cannot, as I'm talking about tables, and it's a really difference speaking to each other on a real table. And there is more than these chats we're sharing here. Is, and everybody event and things grow during these talks, live talks, presence talks.
I organize at Mama, and I do it at Medium as well, a media manager, okay, which is like it's a speed meeting thing where you have 10 managers, more tables, right, and then people are queuing and they come and they play the music and you get the business card. Then you have 5 minutes to offer your or suggest, etc., etc. I am convinced, and we've mentioned it briefly, that the live music industry is key today, and agents are people you want to talk to, and those are probably the most difficult people to reach. How many showcases or how many bands during those 4 days at Reeperbahn? 400, 500?
Yeah, something between 400 and 500. It's about, in normal years, and there's many of them do second and third place, so there's like maybe 600, 700, 800 concerts and 400 or 500 acts
in 4 days, right?
4 days,
Okay, now again, I'm a one-man band. I want to maximize my choices. I want to make sure that my band is seen, and I know how it goes. If I'm not able as a manager to arrange any meeting with a distribution, a sub-publisher, an agent, whatever, I will be considered as not having done my job. How do I get my bands at the right spot at the right time in Hamburg? The advantage, the beauty in Hamburg is that everything is walking distance.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go from one venue to the other. It's 10 minutes tops walking. Yeah,
maybe. And there's one big Philharmonic house that's a little bit far out, but but the rest is like as you said, 10, maybe 15 minutes.
15 minutes walking distance.
Yeah.
So how do I get the right spot? Is that your team? Is it organized by territories? Because I see that there is the Aussie barbecue, the Swiss have their raclette or their Swiss cheese thingy, etc., etc. So how is it best organized?
About 150 to 200 acts performing are those who are agreed within showcases of these French or Switzerland or Canadian or Aussie barbecue export offices. And the rest of the acts, like, yeah, about 250 to 300 they're just free curated through our team. I mean, also the showcase acts, and that's a different, maybe I should mention this. I mean, yeah, besides, even within the showcase acts, every export office or organization or label has to suggest, I mean, they cannot buy the slots, and they have to suggest double amount of acts performing, or maybe also 3 times as much as performing, and then they would pick them in cooperation with our booking team. This goes back to, like, this is the way we do it, like 10 years, since 10 years, because yes, on the one hand, every export office label presenter wants to present those acts the organization is focusing in the very year on the one hand side, yes, right. On the other hand, our booking team, those are responsible for the music program in our event, know best which acts would fit for the professional audience and the public audience as well. So there has been a little bit difficult in the first years, honestly, because these export offices and labels, they were used to put money on the table and they could program whatever they wanted. We said we never do. We knew the Popcom, which I mentioned before. Well, in the last years, they died on these systematics because they, those organizations who paid most could present the acts, but nobody knew if they were very well or interesting, chosen for the public and the professional audience. So we have we are working here with a mixture of both. They have to offer much more acts than finally would perform in our event.
Alexander, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
There a couple of questions coming through there from,
yeah.
from the audience. I mean, we obviously we have the live part of Reeperbahn, and it's world famous for that. Could you tell us a little bit more about the kind of conferencing side of it, the kind of, you know, the business inside, where you have speakers come in speaking about, you know, licensing, about the technology change that's happening in the industry? Could you give us a little bit of information about that and how it's, you know, the kind of focus, let's say, if there's any one specific area? Yeah.
Yeah, we have like all these music business events and live events. We offer panel discussions. It's around 150, I guess, in 4 days, and they are only open for professional audience delegates in the first 3 days, and then there is a strand for music interested public audience on the Saturday on the last day. But this is semi-professional level. And where the main focus, it's still always since years, the value gap on recorded music is still interesting. Where can I get my revenues, etc. in the recorded word? This is still there year by year. One important strand every year. It's not going away because it's not solved yet.
And it's not going to go soon.
What is growing since a few years is topic strands which are touching the opportunities for the music business in the games industry. This is growing, and we are connected there with several organizations, umbrella organizations of the games industry, not only Germans but international. Because of course everybody knows producing music and doing license deal in the whole, let's say, sync area here, games, is something which is very interesting, especially for music producers, but musicians as well. One other neighboring industry is, besides the games industry, is the film industry. That's, by the way, also the reason why we're also offering screening program in nighttime, but it's more about, if you're asking about the panels and in the conference, yes, there are buyers from the film industry, producers, film producers, being connected on the panel, explaining how they would find out the right music for the films, et cetera, how it's going to be licensed and things like that. So there's neighboring markets, which is important for a program that, in the conference, in the panel discussions. What else?
I have, if I may suggest, and maybe you can tell us a bit more about it. Last time I was in Hamburg, so that was in 2019. We did talk with the European Commission about sustainable development.
Yeah, right. Actually, because it's a big focus. I mean, it's more the theoretic administration strand. It's not industry, but it's a big focus of the Commission, I know, besides gender or diversity topics. Quite clear, this is something we do and we have to do. It's more about our values and wealth, but not that much industry driven. Of course, we follow these trends. I mean, talking about the European Commission, we are very, very much focused on gender equality, and we're going to enlarge these programs we're running here on other diversity topics in the future, which I cannot reveal it right now, but this is something we're in discussion with the European Commission. Yeah, this is something, of course, more in the political value word than in the industry word, but we have to deliver something there. We want to deliver something, of course. Yeah. And is this a half?
Yes, that answered the question. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions, Niall, coming from the audience for the time being?
From the audience, not so much coming in, but I would like Alexander to hear a little bit more about your kind of diversity discussions, because it's something we've been doing a lot down here as well. I mean, within the live aspect, do you guys have a kind of, is there a gender parity? I know Key Change have been doing a lot around that. Do you guys focus on, you know, gender parity around the live aspect and to have a certain amount of, you know, gender balance on the live lineup?
Yeah, even more. I mean, if you we founded Key Change, I guess, in 2016, and then and that grew in 19 again, and with that growth, we are there was a wider focus, not only on festivals, especially showcase festivals like ours and all the others in Europe and in the world, which already signed what we call Pledge 2022 for a gender balanced lineup, but we enlarged it, the pledge about a year, in 2019, I guess, or 20, on other music organizations. So venues all over Europe should sign the pledge. Orchestras for the inner structure, radio programs. We're about to sign a cooperation deal with the European Broadcast Union for the music programs all over Europe. I mean, they cannot guarantee that their radio stations all over Europe would sign, but our aim in Key Change is, of course, that we would receive a gender balanced music programs in all public radio stations, music stations in Europe, which is so important for the next generation. They would, going to be socialized different than we have been, and then they would look at these gender questions quite different than we did. I mean, if they once grew up with a gender balanced music program for like 10 years, we don't need activities like Key Change anymore.
Sure. Didier, it might be something you have down on your notes to ask Alexander, but there's some questions coming through about this year's event. Obviously, shall I leave that to you to go ahead?
I think you should pass on the mic to Anna.
Anna, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. I just wanted to know a little bit more about the festival here, and what are you expecting, or what plans do you have for the international festival?
Did I get you right for our event in September this year? What that's
yes.
Yes. The international.
Yeah, like you have to do for every business you run. You have to think what could it be like in September, and that's what we did. And we have a certain budget, a certain size of the event, which we are thinking could be realistic in September, which we know we have to adjust like we did last year on the way to September. But the concept and the budget here says it's going to be about 2,000 to 3,000 music professional visitors audience. It's going to be, instead of 6,000 in normal years, 5.5 or 6 in normal years, and it's going to be per day, I guess 7,000 public visitors in addition per day, which makes like 25 to 30,000 all over. This is our basis here, instead of 60,000 in normal years. Yeah, it's like a 50% calculation we have here to normal years. This is the basis on which all departments are planning. The communication and marketing department, the production department, and the music program department, and also the program department for the music professionals, for the panels and things like that. All these industry partners out there, including like the export offices and so on and so forth, they, as far as I'm informed, they keep the budgets. They have budgets, like annual budgets. They keep it until June. And like you can see it in South by these days, they would go back to some online digital presentation only of their artists on our streaming platform, if their showcase could not happen for certain reasons in September. But it's like, well, the dealing structure in many departments in ways is that we make more or less final decisions in about June. Until June, we're going to schedule and calculate on these bases I just mentioned: half of the size, half of the audience, half of the musical program, half of the partners. This is the basis we have as from today. You know, Germany is very slow with the vaccine. Germany is very slow with the testings in comparison to other countries. But we are still in good hope that they will have reached their aims in September.
Does it mean that it's a first come, first served basis for the time being? Should I book myself? If it's only 3,000, you know, I want to be among the 3,000, Alexander. You know, I don't want to wake up in June and you telling me, well, Didier, oops, too late.
Well, actually, we have.
Is it open? Are the registration open now?
Yeah, registration is open, and if we cannot deliver program to you because you're the 3,001st, which is not the case, you would get you would get your money back. This is something not for the music professionals, but yeah, because last year we did announce that the professionals program is only going to happen digitally. I guess we announced this in May or June. But this is different, especially for the professionals program this year. We definitely schedule it for as a present real event, as well as the live and concert program.
I will be totally honest with you. I was very happy last year when there was an offer to attend digital events. And I thought, yeah, perfect, I'm going to be able to go to A2IM, go to Nashville, I'm going to be all over the place. You know what? Not one. I didn't do one. Sitting on my own, behind my computer, and listening to people, it's very frustrating. I miss the action. I miss going at the bar of the hotel from time to time, you know, have a drink. I miss meeting people. I miss the human feeling. I miss human contact. And I'm seriously looking forward at being able to travel again and to visit the events live, you know, because there's nothing will ever replace those events. Have you been successful with the, honestly said, have you been successful with the online offer? Was it satisfactory?
No, I would say no. I mean, if I compare it with the output you just described, I mean, you don't have all these very important skills doing, especially our business, but maybe also other business in person. I mean, what we are, yeah, what are we doing here? We are even you and me, Didier, even we have not met often, but in my back hat, it's your person and other small talks in the past, which build up your picture in my mind while we're talking here. So we are living on substancy, everybody in a way. On it's just a substitute, and we're living on substances that grew during personal meetings. And this is not endless. I mean,
there is no replacement for the unexpected meeting of somebody
right.
I haven't seen for years, and I'm crossing Spielbudenplatz, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know, and then let's have a drink, and all of a sudden it turns into a business meeting, and it turns into a deal, and it turns into an opportunity. And you know, I don't have that online. I don't have I
totally agree, Didier.
Or running into someone you don't know and who is of the next generation and offers you a completely new, interesting business model for your music. I mean,
but it happened. It happened each time I was in Hamburg.
Yeah.
Having a dinner scheduled with somebody and having other people joining, and all of a sudden I'm facing people I've never met, and I end up having potential partners, friends, I mean, and wonderful evenings and wonderful conversations. And that is something that I'm never going to have online. And it's same for a showcase, you know. I don't want my acts, you know, I mean, we're not planning 90 minutes live stream, you know, it's just not going to work. It's not going to be which leads me to another question, if you don't mind. Reeperbahn, fantastic 4 days, packed, busy, wonderful. What about the 361 days remaining of the year? Do you have something happening as well? Is there anything happening during those 361 other days? I mean, like, maybe then it's justified to have something online, unless I'm going with you to New York or Nashville or LA or Beijing or whatever.
Yeah, it's only these already mentioned international events, and what will remain after the pandemic as an additional tool, not as our main backbone we're just talking about, is digital program. I mean, but let's say very special topics, which would only touch a very special group of people, but internationally, because this is something which is helpful in these conferences. I mean, you would indeed reach more speakers, and it's much easier to organize even networking, but also for a certain topic, which might last 1 hour or something, speakers or participants from all over the world. This is something which will stay on our platform as well, but as an addition to the physical event, not as the main backbone here. Definitely, yes.
Okay, we have started mentioning, or we were between the lines, we're talking about the pandemic. What is the actual situation in Germany? In France, we are going to wake up to a very complicated situation. We're talking about lots of people losing their jobs, company going bankrupt. 2021, even if there are grounds to be optimistic, will be very difficult for us to face, for lots of us to face. What's the situation actually in Germany, and what do you think that the impact of the pandemic will be in the mid to long term on the German industry?
Mm. Well, first of all, like in every, I guess, at least European or Western country, the recorded music market grew during the pandemic. Maybe the strongest growth they had since the year 2000 or something, I don't know. The IFPI would have an answer on this, but yes, they're the lucky winners in this pandemic, in a way. As I'm also in the umbrella organization for the Live Entertainment Association here in Germany, and discussing with the federal foreign government on subsidies for these companies, I can say if a very important tool which we had from 2020 to 2021, or which the live promoters need, was here in Germany it's called the voucher law, which means every sold ticket, the promoter had the right to do the same event, especially for festivals, from 2020, to move it, to postpone it to 2021, and to deliver the similar program to the same client or customer. And the customer had to hold his ticket. He had not the right to give it back and collect his money back. And this law, and now last week, I don't know what's going to like in France. You have maybe mentioned that the big festivals, and this law is very important for the very big open air festivals, the annual events, that the big festivals in 2021 are cancelled and postponed to 2022. But the law on the voucher ends as from now on 21st December 2021. And especially the mid-sized companies, I mean, those big Live Nations and CTS Eventim, they will survive. But these mid-size festivals, promoters with mid-size tours and maybe festivals, if they don't have the right, if they don't enlarge the voucher law until summer or end of summer next year, they will be bankrupt, because they have no, I mean, they have, some of them run like 2 or 3 events and 4 or 5 tours a year. And if they cannot keep the budgets and have the chance to set up their festival or tours next summer, and had to pay to the clients, they're going to be bankrupt. Yeah.
As you are an observer of what's happening in Germany, in the music industry as a whole, I agree with you, but I'm slightly worried about maybe overproduction nowadays in the recorded music industry. 2 years ago, Daniel Ek, who founded Spotify, as we all know, stated that 40,000 new tracks are uploaded per day on Spotify. He gave the same interview about a week ago, and it has now increased to 60,000. In other words, it's an increase by 50% of daily new uploads. Releases have been postponed due to the pandemic. We have all encouraged our artists to go back and record and create, and they did so. I mean, Taylor Swift released 2 albums in 2021, in those past 12 months. Aren't you scared that there will be such a funnel that's basically gaining exposure, be it even on social media? I'm not talking radio. Radio is completely out of reach nowadays. But be it only on social media. Do you still think that, how do you see the evolution?
I would say it's not helpful. I mean, why should I think that there is more musical talent in this world than it has been 20 years ago. I mean, I'm quite, I would say 20 or 30 years ago, not all talent made its way above the surface. Fair, but these days, I would say not all possibilities, easy possibilities of producing music easily should, express that there's more musical talent on this planet. And the other thing is, I mean, producing your music on a computer back home and licensing it to a streaming service is the one thing. These days, many of the new talents spend more energy on promoting the product because there is no ecosystem around an artist and everything is DIY. And if you spend more talent on promoting and social media, also spending creative ideas on social media profiles and campaigns, is maybe not the right way, because I mean, as there is that high numbers which Daniel Ek mentioned, it's with every number going to be licensed to the streaming service. I mean, you have to invest more power in promoting your own product beside these 59,999 other products going to be installed. And this is, I mean, this is not
the pressure on marketing budgets.
But Didier, on the other hand, I think what you know, artists that really stayed there for a longer time, or no, I have to put it vice versa. These artists that would survive several albums, several releases, it's not albums anymore, several years, let's say several years, in an international listeners group. They might have touched all the fans out there emotionally, which I mean, and personally, which means if you want to stay there for a longer time, even in recorded music, you have to have reached your fans physically, which means in a concert. So you need the combination. Those who would really survive might have touched their fans out there in a special situation, which will not go way out of the heart and the heads of the fans, because they saw these acts live. So we're going to be back at that point. I'm totally convinced, where the growth and development of an artist consists of both the live entertainment and the recorded, and yes, more not commercially, but more like constantly, for a constantly existing artist with a concert, because that touches you in so many ways in comparison to recorded music. It touches your heart and your soul and and it's a social event at the same time, and things like that. And that will stay for a longer period than just a single on Spotify.
That calls for a few comments from my end. First comment, and I'm completely, totally with you. I don't believe that we are selling music anymore. I think we are managing emotional relationships between the artist and the fan. Okay, that's what we do now. And I think that buying or streaming or purchasing something is a byproduct, so to speak. That's number one. So yes, we are building emotional relationships. That's our job. Yes, the live music industry is key. But again, we are going to witness exactly the same thing. I'm really scared at seeing how the merger and acquisition process will be fastened and which will accelerate due to the pandemic, because I mean, lots of companies, you just will, if you have a little bit of money today, you can buy recording studios, you can buy companies, you can buy left, right, center, whatever you want. Okay, it's very easy. And as you said, I mean, the AEG and Live Nations and Fimalac in France and FKP in Germany, they have the money and they will survive. I'm not scared of this. The other point that which you are raising, which is interesting for me, do you still think that we will be able to establish bands, or will we only be selling songs?
Daniel X says only songs.
Well, yeah. I mean, is it a publisher's dream happening, or do managers still have and live music promoters do we still have a chance to survive?
Live music promoters definitely have the chance to survive. I would say this unique event, again, I'll be in touch by an artist, multi-essential, cannot be, as far as I can see it from now, but cannot, even not within the next generation, be covered only through recorded music. I guess if you once had this experience at a concert, you would it would stay forever, and you would go and see other concerts because it's so different from all other forms of listening to music, which does not mean that these artists performing live might change their strategy and deliver one title per month into the streaming services. I mean, this is something different again. I mean, can we expect concept albums like we know it from the past in the future? I'm not quite sure what's going to happen in this recorded market, but the concerts as a form, and I mean, maybe also the concerts as an artificial form will grow in its wealth because the kind of releasing recorded music is so like, yeah, okay, it's going to be there. I don't care that much about it. It's not exclusively. It's like everybody can do it. The wealth is maybe lowering while the wealth of a concert is growing.
It's a conversation we had within this group of friends here about the perceived value of recorded music, and we came to the conclusion that the biggest challenge for us in the years to come will be for the public to understand that there is a value in listening to music again, and that music is not a commodity, is not elevator music.
Yeah.
We're talking about really it should make sense again, as it made sense when I was a kid. I was making a statement.
Right.
If I looked at my playlist and my records and the music I bought, I was making a serious statement at the time. This is maybe the biggest challenge that we have to face in the very near future if we want to have a valuable product to offer again. Niall?
Yeah, just taking up on that point, Didier, and Alexander, from your kind of unique perspective, where do you see the live industry going, like post-COVID? You touched on the point there about maybe it's going to kind of go artificial kind of way, and we might get used to more kind of like, viewing concerts and streaming online. What's your perspective on getting back into a big muddy field again and pissing in corners and stuff like that? I mean, do you see the live thrill coming back, and how does that look in your perspective?
Well, yeah. Standing in the mud will come back, and people are seeking for it. I would say yes. And at the same time, those mid-sized festivals and also tours they will still be existing, but the pandemic, another result of the pandemic could be that those mid-sized and small promoters will be bankrupt, and we will see even more Live Nation and AGs, which have the venues, which have at the same time the ticket service, and of course the artists globally. So I mean, how can the independent, little small-sized independent promoters survive? How can they build up local product? I'm not quite sure, but on the other hand, yes, the festival situations you just mentioned is something that will not go away and will be there in 2022. I'm completely convinced, yeah.
Sure.
Even if 90 or 95% of these events will be promoted to the global players. Unfortunately, yeah.
Dupes has an interesting question. Sherwin, do you want to come in and ask about the kind of virtual reality world and see that? I mean, it's obviously something you must be looking at as well, Alexander, about, you know, will some of your events go VR in the future, you know, when you're talking about Reeperbahn?
Yeah, we have been discussing this for, I guess we started 2 years ago. And we have been starting to discuss it if we should offer it to certain artists, not doing our event in a VR forum, but honestly, we could not find, maybe we have not been seeking too deep, but a cooperation partner and a convinced artist side, which said, this is something really interesting in economic sense and in aesthetic senses. I mean, it's like, yeah, everybody's talking a little bit about it. And as far as we were doing research on these options, it could maybe be an interesting in the Asian market. I mean, there's many people, if you and they have more easier, not that much barriers to these kind of performances. And it's and maybe you don't have to spend that much money if you bring in European artists with a only VR product into the Asian market. That was something which was the closest we were thinking of, but not our own event time. But yeah.
And what stopped you from doing it? May I ask what stopped you from progressing with that idea?
At the end, there was no partner on the artist side that really would fit into it on the one hand, and the developers we've been talking to didn't have the strength to go into this Asian market. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Just going to put it out there. Does anybody else have any questions? Dupes, did that answer your question?
Yeah, and folks, I have to feed my children by 7:30, so in about 10 minutes.
I was just about to say the same. Is there any other final questions for Alexander, guys?
No. Okay.
So I mean, there's 10 minutes left, but yeah, then
yeah.
No, I think that what we've learned through the pandemic is that we are social animals.
Yeah.
We need to get together. We need to touch each other. We need to feel, you know, I mean, we you know, the living on a desert island, you know, it's a myth, you know, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah. And you know what? It's even, we made the experience even among all the employees. It's like 40 people working in our company. And since so many months they are working from home, and they are on short term, partly being so they, and here again, like we said before, for our networks and contacts we have, it's like they're also living only on the substances on the old times where they met in person with every chat. And there's the only thing you do is, I mean, you do not develop new things very well in this virtual constellation. You can like administer projects you have been planning in person, but you cannot, you're not very good in developing new things, new ideas and things like that with a group of people.
That's a great point. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so basically we see each other in September.
Yeah.
And do me a favor, Alexander. Never ever send me an email with written 3001. Okay, please do not send me an email with 3001 written on it. Okay, I would be really miserable. Okay, so so guys, if I can give you a piece of advice, rush to I'm not paid. I'm not getting paid by Alexander. I swear I'm not getting paid. But rush and register now in order to be within the 3,000 that will be the happy few attending Reeperbahn in September. Trust me. Okay.
Well, Alexander, thanks so much for coming on, and best of luck with all the preparations. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to you'll get there in the end. There's light, isn't there, at the end of the tunnel right now?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, folks. Have a nice evening.
I really appreciate it. Thanks, Alexander.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody else, guys, we'll have the recording of this up on the community probably next week, early next week, I'm going to say. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Didier, awesome job as usual.
I mean, thank you guys. You know, it was great fun, and I was really happy to have Alexander around. Maybe you can talk about the next one. Will be in 10 days.
Julie is the week after next, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, I'll tell you right now.
I mean, while Niall is looking, Julie Knibber, she is a young French woman based in Paris. She did launch a company called Music Tomorrow. Julie is a specialist in artificial intelligence. I did meet her in a panel. I thought she was she's a fantastic person. And I'm really interested in knowing how artificial intelligence and algorithm can help me have a more efficient marketing spend. I mean, we did talk about marketing spend with Danton. We have spoken marketing spend again with Alexander. Having efficient spendings, you know, is key for all of us. You know, I think that $1 invested there should be a return of another $1.
Absolutely.
Right? Not major record companies, you know, the time that we could throw money out the windows are gone.
Yeah.
So, artificial intelligence is supposed to be very helpful, and I think that Julie will shed some light on this kind of issues. I hope.
Yeah, it's a great topic actually, Didier, that you've brought on there. She's speaking, guys, on April 21st. If you pop over to the event section and just click in there to follow that, to attend, that should be a really interesting session. Actually, I must say it's kind of the future of music, really, in all its forms. So that's April 21st. Just to let you know, we'll have a couple of NFT chats coming up over the next 2 weeks. Just finalizing the details, which everyone's, you know, gunning for. So watch this space.
I need to understand what this is all about.
I know. Yeah,
I'm searching since those past 3 days. All I'm hearing about is NFT.
I know.
I just you know, and I don't get it. I don't get it. Okay.
Well, you know what? It's going to be a pure and simple Q&A. It's really going to be an NFT for dummies. It's going to be
because I seriously need it. Trust me. Yeah. I don't understand something.
I know.
And this is something that's totally escapes me.
One thing I could mention, Didier, if you are on Clubhouse, I think you are, is there's some great talks on Clubhouse. If you're following some heads on the NFT and music world, you can just have it in the background there and get your knowledge. You know that there's some good chats going on.
No, I'd love to go spend more time in Clubhouse. I mean, you can't just be all over the place.
I know. Tell me about it.
I don't know what it's doing, you know, but for me, it's a bit complicated.
Yeah.